And the masters of the universe. I became He-Man, the most powerful man in the universe.
Welcome back to the Titanium Hanger. This is Mike. Today I want to talk to you about this 40th anniversary He-Man from Mattel. This is the newest one that they have made, and it is a pretty good looking He-Man. But the question is it better than classics? Is it better than Super 7 Ultimates? Is this the best one? So I'm going to talk about the pluses, the minuses, because they did a pretty good job with it. And then I'm going to kind of discuss and go into verses and comparisons, those kinds of things. And I'm going to take a look at Shera too at the end of this, just a quick look and kind of my thoughts about her overall. So let's get into looking at these coming up. First off, I'm going to talk about the packaging, and it looks pretty good. And the thing about this is that at first I didn't realize that this actually is standard Masterverse packaging, but it's just actually got kind of the exploding rocks on it and classic. This is how it should have been from day one. I mean, it should have had this classic look from day one. The other packaging is really garbage. The pose in there is kind of weird, but it's probably just easier to place him in that way to kind of make it look like he's got something going on for production and stuff. And then a little artwork on the back, so kind of cool, kind of excited. I'm not sure when we'll get the Skeletor, if we'll get the Skeletor or not, but still, pretty good overall. Looks great in the packaging. All right, so taking a look at this 40th anniversary He-Man, he does actually look really good overall. So let's kind of dig into the good and the bad and just go start head to the bottom, top to the bottom. So let's get a good look at this face. And so the head sculpt looks pretty good. The eyes sort of look like they wander a little bit, like they're not looking straight ahead. And yeah, but it's more of a classic look than we've seen in the past. Not a bad head sculpt. And we could always argue what's the best head sculpt to match the cartoon. I think this is supposed to be a Filmation look to it. So overall, pretty nice, though, even with the head sculpt. Side to side, up and down, ball joints, just simple stuff. The armor itself looks pretty decent. And, well, the one problem is it does easily come unclipped, especially if you have something back here. And I know this axe is probably something too big to go back there. So, but it does kind of come unhinged. It clips together sort of easy, but then it comes off sort of easy. Let's see how the sword goes in that. And here we go. Sword does feel very, very cheap. Flimsy. But anyway, turning back around. Now, they got the different cut. Of course, this is something they've been doing for a while, but this is good that the cut actually follows the armor. So with the rotation here, and you've got the ball joint rotation, that is a good thing. And then, of course, you have the waist swivel, too. So you have quite a bit of options that you could get with this. So the articulation is up to, really high. So shoulder goes, you could have him go up to there, well, all the way up to here with the shoulder. And then bicep swivel, double jointed elbows, and of course hands move. Now there are two different hands. We'll have a look at those later on. His accessories, not a whole lot of accessories, but just the basics plus extra set of hands. And then getting down here, now this feels ultra cheap. This just is like orange plastic, cheap orange plastic, and it does look okay, but it does feel kind of cheap. And then over here, so like this is painted, and this should have been painted too. So this is painted here, but this wasn't painted. I know they only have so many paint apps that they could do. This wasn't painted, this wrist piece here, which I do believe that pops off. Like all this stuff could pop off. It's all separate. But yeah, this belt being cheap, and then the loincloth's okay. The length of the loincloth, I think it's just right. It's kind of just right. It's not too long. It's not too short. Then we get into articulation right here, articulation to the back, and then we got some thigh swivel, and then you can do the double jointed knee. And I do kind of, oddly enough, I didn't think I would, but I kind of like the color of the boots. The boots have a nice kind of a reddish orange. All right, so we got a nice reddish orange to the boots, and there's some wash to it. So that was the biggest problem. Everyone thought this thing was going to have a major wash going on to it, and it doesn't. It has a slight light wash to it, and it looks good. It almost looks like he's got a bit of a tan going, some tan here and there, But yeah, so overall, a good looking He-Man. It definitely looks like He-Man. And let's get into kind of looking at more of the accessories. Okay, so he does get an extra punching fist, so he can punch some stuff in the face. And it does have articulation in and out. And I don't remember which ones originally came on it and which ones that I swapped out. I just tried them all to see which ones I liked the most. It's got this kind of gripping hand for the left hand. And then you have a gripping hand for the right hand, of course, for the sword. And it has it up and down. So it's so you can hold the sword aloft. So that's one of the differences there. And so with that, the hand options are nice, but I think the way I've got them set up, it works the best for this to hold the shield and this to hold the sword. And I mean, that's 90% of what we want. Shield looks pretty classic, does feel kind of cheap. So I think the one that they had on Mattel Creations with the die-cast weapons, the weapons probably feel more premium. But then again, can he hold up die-cast weapons? Who knows? So this is a separate insert for these handle pieces to go in there, so it's pretty cool, and that works. That's glued in there, and but it looks good. So this looks good on him, and I think it's a pretty decent size, pretty much where it should be. Some of them are a little bit too big, in my opinion. Flimsy feeling sword, and it doesn't look good. So some of the swords they've done in the past look a little better, but they wanted this to look very Filmation and classic. But we can look at this in the comparisons with the others, and there's the standard axe. There's nothing special about it. It doesn't, oddly enough, the axe doesn't feel or look as cheap as the sword feels and looks. I don't know how to explain it, but the axe feels a little bit better. But that's it for accessories. Now, getting into comparisons, we're going to kind of do them one at a time here, and then we'll do a nice group shot of them, and then I'll use that as my screen shot. Does that sound nice? So look at this here. So with this, I did not like this version when it came out. I thought it looked terrible, and I held my breath for hoping something like this came out. This is better than I expected Mattel to do. For some reason, they want to go some weird, super deformed look going on over here, and so with that, I did not like this. I have one sealed. My son, this is my son's, and I believe all the stuff is what came with this one, but my son does have a couple other versions of the He-Man, a couple other shields and stuff, so I'm not sure if that's the right shield. But looking at them, I mean, just this definitely looks more like the classic He-Man. And yes, this does match the new Revelations a little bit better and all that kind of stuff. But I don't like, just look at the colors and all this kind of stuff. Look at how long this is versus, I mean, it's just so much better over here. And but you know, the color of the boots is still kind of nice too. So there's a good things. There's a couple good things about this. I'm not going to completely bash it, but the chest symbol's correct. Over here it has an H on it. So side by side though, the new one destroys the first version. So this is Matty Collector Classics, and I believe it's a KO. So because I got it so cheap, and it looks good. I like it. I like the way the Mattel one was, but I always felt like it needs to be a little bit better. And so with that, does this one beat that one? Well, I start getting a little disappointed in kind of the cut breakup that you see in the legs. The thigh cut, it wasn't hidden very well. And so you don't have that problem on this guy over here. The thigh cut is hidden a little bit better. Now from like the side, you can kind of see the thigh cut on this one here. And then of course, you move them to the back here and which one's cleaner and all that kind of stuff. I think that it does. I still like the way this looks from the back. But one thing that people were expecting were these big lats. And I don't think I'm a big fan of the huge lats. But then again, I mean, it's just one of those He-Man traits, having these large lats. And then there's not the large lats there. So I don't know. I don't know which one I like better when it comes to that. But this one here does seem to be a little bit sleeker and smoother. Maybe even a little like thinner, less tone and definition than say the Classics one. And of course it's taller than Classics, so we're in a different scale now. Here's my custom that I made that I think looks pretty good overall, and this was back when I was like, no, I'm not spending no $100 on a He-Man, and then I've recently spent $100 on He-Man, so it's crazy. It's crazy. But what you guys don't know is that this guy's going to fit in Eternia, so Eternia's going to be scaled to fit Masterverse. So anyway, the difference between this one is the head, really, from the other one, and a couple of little things. But this is Prince Adam's head, and I just popped it on here, and then I used some accessories from, this is a Masterverse sword from something, one of the Masterverse ones, but still not the greatest sword either. But yeah, that's how they look. Now we get into Super 7, and I think that the Super 7 one is the best one that they've made, and it still is the reigning king. he still wins. There's a lot of reasons why, but looking at him, first off, I like the color of like a nice tan to him, and it just looks very smooth and feels like he just came out of the show. Also, I do like the face. The facial expression looks so much closer to what I think He-Man should be. Let's zoom in on the faces. So I think the face is a win. I think that we see the smooth belt and the smooth wrist and all that kind of stuff. I like that better. For me personally, the loincloth feels more like like it's right out of the animation. And then down here, it just feels right to me. But again, it's all people's individual preference. Now, this guy is actually pretty solid. I know one of the problems with even the Super 7 one is not as bad as, say, Matty Collector stuff. The ankles are terrible. They fall over a lot. Super 7s are a little bit better. And Matty Collector made this same version here. Now, on this one here, you have a whole sheath. And then over here, you just have that one slot to put this in. And I keep bumping them, but it's just got the slot right there. If there's a downside to the Super 7 one, though, there's two. First off, this shield is just stupid big. Like, I have no idea why it's that big. When Mattel used this mold and went Filmation, did Mattel have that big of a shield? I don't know. That is just stupid big. It makes no sense to me. But in battle, it makes sense, obviously. But in the He-Man world, I don't think it really makes that much sense. And the other thing is price. So this guy here is $22. There was an online sale for a bit for, I think he was 14, just online only, but there were none online or in the store at the time. But then when that ran out, they started showing up at my store, and there's a 25% off one toy at Target on your circle, so it makes them like 16 or 17 bucks, something along those lines. And so this one here's 100. If you're lucky to find a used one for 100 and that's been beat up and tattered like mine, you get lucky to get one for 100. It was originally MSRP of 50, now going for 100. Here's a bit of a group shot here of all the He-Mans that I currently have on hand that kind of are in this scale. As you see, he is taller than all the rest of them, but he does look good, and he fits in and he works well, and I think he's a good, very good option for 22 bucks. Very awesome. I really am impressed with this guy overall. So looking at him compared to the other ones, I still like this one the most. So like if I was like get rid of all of them, I'd keep him. But still, this is the number 2 in line compared to even all the other ones. Now for my thoughts on Shera, and pretty simple. I think she's a pretty good figure. I do think that it's good they give us an option for, well, 35 bucks. I think I paid 35 plus tax, 37 for her. And then I got another one for like $20 or $22 from Target during that deal they had going on. But it's good for the price, and she looks good. I don't know if she's better than classics. I don't have the classics. But overall, she doesn't suffer from a lot of the issues that we talked about with He-Man. Like the thigh cut, although it's lower, she's covered by this ginormous skirt she's wearing. So she's a really extra long skirt that she's wearing right there. So that kind of covers that cut. So I was kind of smart thinking of her and of them. And then I'm pretty sure it's the same buck as like Tila and that kind of stuff. But it's smart that they can give us some other characters using that buck. And then looking at the articulation, it looks pretty good. The hair kind of hinders the head a bit, but we got everything the same. It's almost exactly the same point for point as we saw with He-Man. So you can get that double jointed if you need it out of her. Now I feel like I want to break her. Bye. Even if it's a mainline release, you probably need to heat them up nowadays. But you do get double joints right there. You do have the ball socket right here, and then should still have a waist. But I think she does have the waist, but yep, she does. But it's a one-piece skirt right here underneath and all that kind of stuff. She has a nice cape. The cape feels quality versus kind of what McFarlane's doing with the Super 7s. If the Super 7 capes felt like this, it would be a whole lot better, but the Super 7 don't have that material. Quality cape there. Double jointed knees. I'm not going to go all the way, but it will take it all the way. But she can kick her own butt here. Does have this boot movement and then ankles. So she is pretty solid. I've had a little bit of trouble getting her to stand in poses that I wanted, but that's more of a me and my lack of posing ability, and the fact that she has smaller footprint, meaning that it's going to be just a little bit more to get her posed and all that kind of stuff. She does come with a nice looking shield right here, so it's not really bad. And her sword seems to be much nicer than what we got with the 40th anniversary He-Man we just looked at. Biggest problem with her is her head, and I wouldn't have had a big problem with it if it wasn't for Hebro pointing out she didn't have a chin. And so then I looked through like 5 or 6 of them that I saw on hand, and none of them have a chin. There's no chin. It's and if you look at her other one here, let's move this up. She's got a more prominent chin on the other head sculpt than she does on this sculpt. It's kind of silly. I want to point out with her cape here, they pulled a Todd McFarlane, and there's something in here holding the cape in, but I don't think it's going to leave a big hole, but you're going to have to like snip that off. So that kind of sucks. Let's swap her head and cape and stuff like that. So let's see how easily this pops off. Not easy. It's not as easy as you'd think. That was hard. So anyway, with all that force to decapitate her, now you put this other thing here on, and then I don't know how much force I'm going to have to do to pop it in place. Oh man, this is crazy. Didn't sound like it popped in, but I'm okay with it. So now you get this look, this Shera. Now I don't know a lot about Shera, so it's kind of cool. I think that the designs look pretty cool on some of the ones that they did with the Maddie collectors, so I kind of will stay up with getting at least one of each. The Catra and, you know, all of those. I think Frosta, those are the 2 that are announced, but I don't even know anything about them, and I'm buying them, which is weird. So that's a sign of an addicted toy collector, right? So that's what it looks like with the other getup. I actually think I will do a combination. I think I'm going to use this head because I like, well, I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do, to tell you the truth. But at the end of the day, I don't really like that this is a deluxe, and I'm not sure. What do you guys think about that? But that does look kind of cool. So I'm going to try to decide which look I like more because I don't have enough shelf space to do both. But yeah, let me know what you think about this. So I hope you enjoyed this look today at this He-Man 40th anniversary, and then my quick thoughts on Shera, Princess of Power. And both are good figures overall, and I think Mattel's doing some good work going in the right direction. I wish they would do less of the deluxe figures and just get us out at the right price point. When we're in the middle of a recession, possible depression, and we're having to pay $35 for a figure that should be $22, then they're having to clearance it to $22 already anyway. So what does it matter? So anyhow, let me know what you think about this 40th anniversary figure, and this is Shera, and how deep are you going to go with the Masterverse? How deep are you going to go with Origins? And are you in on the Eternia? Did you know that these fit Eternia? Like, subscribe to Dear Hanger out.
The power of Grayskull. Well, it doesn't work that way. The people who succeed are the ones who work for what they want. So don't be fooled by those who say they have a sure thing. The right way is the best way. Until later.